Okay.
With an structural pushback, and so mechanically it works, except like very big. See.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah. So if we were to do that, you know, it's one of the things that the root systems that I've studied. Can someone look up MassMocha, Jeremy? I mean, you should know a little bit about my work. Just because
What's his name?
my name, Jeremy Janko, and MassMocha.
No, his name.
No, his name. I just want to show him a picture of this and the reason why it's all about the roots. So MassMocha, Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. Yeah, so this is the icon of the Museum of Contemporary Art, which is a piece I did 20 years ago, kind of 18 years ago. I'm exaggerating. 17 years ago, close enough. And these, you know, it's an upside down avenue of trees planted 40 feet in the air with, how do you make the roots? You know, I went through trying to put windows and trying to be able to see the roots in this case, building the structure, support the root system, and of course the spectacle of going back there, which is super difference to figure out what's going on. Even to photograph within the planters what the roots are doing now and how they're making sense of being upside down, right? The branches, we can see what they're doing,
Right.
but will the roots grow up or will the roots be growing down, right? What is the logic, which is what the piece is called. Anyway,
Actually,
okay.
she got a copy.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly run and grab a coffee, and then we'll come back. I'm wondering if we can.
Should I stop it or?
No. Well, I'm running on grabbing one.
I did,
Yeah.
but I would like something to eat.
Can we make a Dropbox?
With the presentations.
Yeah, for the students to put their
Yes.
things in. Can you make it on my machine in here? Make a xCLASS.
Here, okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
In Finder, right? No, it's fine.
Find it. Oh, no, it's right. But
Okay.
I've got it set up so the Finder only appears when you put your thing in there.
Why? Okay.
I don't know how I did it, but but if you can just make in the top level Dropbox
Yes.
xCLASS and invite all of these guys.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to get it up on the blog as well. So if you could put there, anyway, just do that step one.
A small one. Not that. A small one. Small. Small, not large. Small. With me. Thank you.
How is this possible? Poverty.
She's walking away.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a piece, I didn't even have to get one. So I should
The coffee.
Sure. And at 12:30 or 12:45?
It's supposed to end both of you, but it's not gonna, it's not gonna.
What if we want to be?
It's just clean.
Will she fail me? Is that Elise?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, so.
So can you give me your mail? Because I don't know
Mine
if
is
Sam, right?
QC3. Yeah.
Okay. Nicolás.
¿El correo?
Sí, sí. NG.
Es 49.
Sonia, right? So, SH. Sorry, SH.
3211.
3211.
Does anybody watch Much Pineapple?
So, what's your mail?
EAG
EAG.
484.
Okay. And yours?
MAD
MAD.
17.
So I share with Natalie's account a folder with the presentation. So if you could upload it there,
Right now or after?
well, after, I think.
This is so scary. You're scary. It's just so pretty. I don't think the it was more like the concept. I was like, you don't have that mind. I think it's more like, yeah, like it's terrifying. He's awesome. I love the first movie. The line, he sounded like he was thinking so. It's just nice that Wilmer is there. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe something about it. Lover versus
Lover.
Ghostbusters.
Lover. Yeah.
Maybe I should do that. Is there a cable that's close to
I don't know.
Is she gonna get mad if I do it on my small computer? The small computer is pretty big, so. How do I put on there and I'll do my things on here? Can I use a flash drive, please?
Yes. He's bringing those.
Yeah. Okay. So, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Stop.
Go. Just talk. No. No, but you're watching his face. Also, I don't know if you're going to look for like fight real it's pretty cool. I don't know. That's it. Yeah, you have all of it. It's all right. Sure. That's cool. And they have that like big freight box thing. I thought it was cool. It's the storage. Yeah. I don't know, all the stuff they have in there is like reused or recycled or repurposed stuff. And they could do some other stuff. Because everything has like graffiti on it. And, like, gold. It could definitely give the character, but like, it's like a little fix up would be like, you would yeah, it would really pop because like, because everything is reused. Like, more how we
As long as we're tea, I think we're going. Amazing. I have to ask for it 5 times.
Found it everything.
So where were
All.
we?
I did a folder photos March
I
29th
see.
because then I deleted from your because
Right.
you didn't have, and this is why we're
Right.
talking. I didn't remember.
So yeah,
We have all of them
Can
here.
we make
Maybe we
folder
can,
with
yes, all the
of
images, yes, all the
images
photos.
and some better names? Okay, so how much longer can you guys stay?
As long as we leave.
You have to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry
That's mine,
about
right?
that time. Yes. You want to
Except
go
we're
with
just copying onto the flash drive.
Sorry?
It's copying onto the flash drive right now.
Okay. Do you want to, before Sonia goes, while she's setting up, both of you give a quick 2-minute summary of your project, so you've got 5 minutes.
So, see what happened,
You keep going.
what it said last week. About the new education system, so the whole study done by the university professor and on this documentary. I think the explains how this stuff about transportation bus system. So after we implement that, we would also need that the most important stops are next to like trash centers, I guess, with all trash goes. And then people pay for the tickets of trash, and then the buses carry the trash to their center. And then another element we need to design. So there's kind of, it's called the X wagon.
Great.
So people will pay with trash, like some kind of weight, and they have like non-metric cards and metric cards kind of. So some kind of weight equals some amount of money. So that's what you charge it. Then deposit trash and then go in. And then those will be our containers. And when the containers full, they'll get replaced and the container would be like put onto the bus. And then that would be transported to like facilities. So so there's no need for a separate system for waste management because that would incentivize people made disseminate in the home screen to get the presentation out of it.
And the 5-minute one from you. Are you ready to go? You're presenting from here, right?
Yes.
So I did more research on different perspectives of Beijing after talking about first is the energy system. The city consumes 60,000 tons of coal per day and 250 million kilowatt-hour electricity per day and 20,000 tons of gasoline per day. The public transportation, 44% of citizens use the public transportation to commute, and the number is over 85% in New York City and over 90% in Tokyo. And about the health cost, the Minister of Health in China, Chen Zhu, said 500,000 people die earlier every year due to outdoor air pollution in China. And between 2002 and 2011, the incidence of lung cancer in Beijing doubled. And nationwide, deaths from lung cancer have risen 465% in the last 3 decades. And about waste systems, there are about 20,000 tons of waste generated every day in Beijing, and about 23,000 tons of waste can be processed every day. So it's about to reach the limit of the process ability. About the goods distribution in the nation and the city, the Taobao.com, which is China's biggest online shopping company, delivers over 8 million packages per day, and the weight of goods transported in Beijing per year is 400 million tons.
Wow. We could go on, but I think you have to go. I just wanted to get,
Does anyone know the password of the skill? Barney?
done. Last class, I'd like to have each of us go around and say a word of appreciation to Sonia for her contributions and her participation, which I think was extraordinary. You always asked good questions, and you always, gave a good attempt at answering the very hard questions that I posed, and really a very valuable class member, discussant, and very open with your making sense of things, which I think is really invaluable, and allowed everyone else to kind of scaffold and sort of learn from you. So thank you very much for your contributions in the class. I very much enjoyed them. Say words of appreciation for. She has to say it for you too.
I remember every week when I arrived to house, and the first one that arrived, I'm very excited.
Punctuality really gets people inside. I've got to learn that one still.
It was interesting. At first, we did a lot of artistic things and you're artists, so you enjoy that. And then when we changed to the bureaucratic, I guess, experiments and ideas, I guess it wasn't the same for you, but you still showed a lot of interest. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we have similar kind of outlooks and both taking those urban design classes, so I really appreciate your insight in that way. You're a good person.
I mean, we've had a good discussion. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'd like to meet with you once before you go too. If you could just say, before the end of class. Actually, so it has to be this week sometime to have our overdue one-on-one. Because I think your career ideas are really important for this class? I mean, what sort of work you produce or can produce, and where and how and who to produce for, is a real question, I think. As an artist, it's maybe the primary question we keep asking ourselves over and over again. So I'd really like to get your feedback of, do we want, if you want a career where you're exhibiting galleries or in community gardens or in public spaces, and when and what and why and how do we, so I have lots of questions about the role of art in social and environmental change. And if you could just say a word of thanks to appreciation for all your colleagues, and then you can go. Oh, and Fernando, sorry, Fernando, you didn't say your thanks to.
No, it was really good, and also she was when we were here, she always was trying to help me with
Your gameness, I think it's really actually like figuring out unity and having a go at things. I think it's really a great strength of yours. So please keep that up. That's really finding things, getting it figured out, doing it. That's really great strength. Yeah.
Well, thank you to both of you for giving like a bit of a different perspective on some of these issues. I think it's really, really interesting and important. And for being my early buddies as well.
Yeah. The early buddies and the late buddies. The three of us. The four of you, yes.
Ellie, thank you for, I feel like you are really passionate and you have a really positive, strong voice. Thank you for being very down to earth and like realistic about things, but also like you're obviously really skilled in artistic ways as well. So that was really fun for me to relate to that. And thank you for your help in figuring everything out. And Unity, we had our best go at it. So and good luck with keep figuring out how to use it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, we are learning a lot.
Yeah, we are. I have to say, I think it's the best.
Sometimes I feel like lost is what we're talking in the workshop with this guy. It was fine, the discussion. But when I'm alone, I don't know the way how to apply what we are trying to do, because all the tutorials are really like specifically for games. So
yeah. Thank you, Fernando, for kind of being the teaching assistant in this. It's been sort of, it wasn't the intention in the beginning, but I think it's really great to have, a kind of team to rely on. So I hope the questions and the ideas in this class have been valuable to you, because I think they're really the most important questions we all face. So thank you again for sharing your time, and I look forward to hearing what great things you do, because I'm sure they will be magnificent.
Thank you for giving us this forum to talk about these ideas. It's really awesome.
Great.
And I can email you maybe Friday if you have any time.
Yeah, there's actually an opening up at Princeton University you might like to come up to. Maybe, anyway, maybe early would be better.
Okay. Yeah, I'll email you about time.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, take it away, Ellie. Bye, miss you.
Bye. The green space event center we're going to be Open Road Park on 11th Street between First Avenue and Avenue A. And it will be Lower East Side Gardens, and there are 60 of them.
60?
Yes.
Wow, I would have said 20.
They are unprotected because the city wants to name the Lower East Side a community garden district, but they haven't done so yet. So these community gardens are unprotected, meaning they can be demolished or developed. This is one of the spaces that definitely needs to be protected because it's next to a school, and they use it. There's a gardening club that they go into the garden for. And it has a greenhouse and a lot of things. So I'll start with history. So it used to be a cemetery. It was the third Roman Catholic cemetery in the city. It used to be next to a church, but the cemetery was sold in 1912 to the New York City Board of Education and the Fifth Avenue Coach Company, so it became a bus depot for a while.
So it went from a cemetery to a bus depot.
And, yeah.
Thank you, church, for your,
Yeah. There were a lot of lawsuits about that. So the bus depot was torn down in 1986, and then in 1993 it became a garden, thanks to the Open Road nonprofit organization. And it was a participatory design process with architects, engineers, the school members, it's partially by the school. There are 3 schools on the property. There's the Lower East Side High School, there's the PS 60, and then there's the Girls Prep School. So different parts of the garden are owned by different people. And there's also a mosque called the Medina Mosque nearby, so they own part of it as well.
right, how is the space divided?
I'll show you. Let me do a picture. Okay, this is a good one. So I believe that this space right here is now a soccer court. And this space is owned by the mosque and the school is over here. And this space, the front of the area, this area is where they do all the planting. And that is owned by the girls preparatory school.
That's facing 11?
Yes. That's 11th Street, and it goes to 12th Street on the other side. It goes all the way through. So yes, that's the history. I think that's my history.
Have they dug up any bodies?
I don't think so. The ground was contaminated though, because of the bodies probably, so they put a plastic liner and then gravel and then soil to make it fertile. So now it's fertile land.
When did they do that?
Good question. I'm sorry, I haven't memorized the information. 1993 to 1994.
Which is when these schools were taking it over and the bus depot came down.
The bus depot was torn down in 1986, and then for a couple of years it was just empty lot, and then school took it over. So this front area that is controlled by the girls' preparatory school is one of the main regions for planting, and these 2 girls right there that I was talking to when I took these pictures, one of them was an NYU food studies graduate, and she was saying that one of the problems that they have in this area is that they don't have very much funding. But it's very participatory in the community, so the school goes, we use the garden club, and the mosque, people run the place, and yeah. But the problem is that they don't have very much funding, so one of their ideas is to grow mixed grains, and they grow a lot of things. They grow sage, plum trees, peppers, tomatoes, chives, chard, chamomile, big trees, kale. But they said that their most profitable endeavor is mixed grain, which they would like to sell to restaurants nearby.
Mixed grain? Mixed
Yeah.
green?
Grain.
Grain? They grow grain?
I think grain. I think I
Mixed
misheard.
greens. Mixed greens. I'm sure it's mixed greens.
Mixed greens, which they will sell to restaurants nearby. But one of the problems also is that they don't have very much.
In the greenhouse?
In the greenhouse, they're mostly just using that space for storage. There aren't shelves to be used yet, so there's also graffiti on the outside of the greenhouse, so it could use a lot of renovation. Yes, it's mostly just storage there, and the things that are planted, that's really all that they have in the greenhouse. They're not really maximizing the space, and that was that one at the front. But I have some ideas where I think they can maximize the space for more efficiency. That's another one of the lots. I'll come back to that. That's the dried up pond. That is another storage area, which I think is useful, but they can definitely spruce it up. Time lapse, which I'll come back to later. But what I was thinking is for a new greenhouse in a more cylindrical shape, and it would have multiple stories to maximize space and efficiency. And I was thinking that it could grow tea, because that would be profitable in the area, and I think it would be a good way to teach the school members about science.
I can show you a project of a friend of mine of tea house now when you finish.
You
Pull it
know,
up, yeah. Pull it up, yeah.
So Michael was telling me about technology or like different sort of greenhouse opacity classes, and apparently seedlings of plants need more opaque seed-proof or
Clear. Okay.
clear.
I'm pretty sure yeah, seedlings need clear and then
Seedlings need
more
clear
mature.
surround, so what you could do is put the plants that need more heat on the top. So what I was thinking of doing is doing 3 different levels and doing different kinds of teas. So the top 3 tea producers in the world are China, India, and Kenya. So I was thinking about doing Kenya on the top story, and it would be kind of a learning experience for the children as well. You would put facts about the country on the levels and how it's grown, and then you teach them how to grow and process it. So the top level, can't tell graphically, but it would be Kenya. I was thinking about putting Kenyan flag and then there, and then because Kenya, the temperature of the growing tea in Kenya is the same as India, which is 21 to 29 degrees Celsius. And then below that would be India, which is the same temperature, and then China would be on the bottom. Because tea there is grown in more cool temperatures, so like 16 degrees Celsius. So yeah.
16 degrees Celsius in summer.
In summer, that's a good question. It depends on the area.
Yeah. Because the problem with greenhouses is not, I mean, is heat, right? So that the cooling greenhouse, that's the hardest one. Yeah. Except in this time of the year and the end and fall, if you go to working greenhouses during summer, they'll open because they trap heat and they get hotter. And we don't have problem with heat in the city, right?
The problem, the girls that I was talking to, they said that one of the problems is the fact that in the winter you can't use the greenhouse because it's not winterized. So I think there's a problem with heating heat in the summer. I mean, in the winter.
You could use the spout for heat dispersion in the summer.
You can use the spout there, the heat dispersion in the summer.
Yes.
There's also, I was looking at,
But this is the thing about greenhouses, right? They don't work in summer or in winter. Right?
yes.
So, what are they for? And really understanding what they're for, right, is that season extension in spring and fall that is unusual in this, and being able to do that and manipulate the climate in that way. But to make them work in winter means putting a lot of heat in there. But
They do have a solar powered panel.
there's a whole lot of waste heat in New York City. So one place that has lots and lots and lots of waste heat.
So we're seeing that distillery. The distillery greenhouse. Like it was like of a gin distillery, and they used the excess heat from the distillery to heat up the greenhouse, and they used it to like grow the flavors for the gin and stuff.
Yeah. So that sounds like a really easy thing to do is to have the heat go through the heated, presumably the schools are heated, presumably the mosque is heated in winter, and to draw that the waste heat would cycle just with copper pipes would cycle through the schools or and then cycle like a sort of loop, maybe kind of a.
You can also use recycled plastic bottles for the greenhouse. I bet that works great for you. That would be a good way to recycle because they, like I said, they don't have very much money because it's a public school. Other ways to cheapen the process, what would do that, would be to, as well as maximizing leaf area index, you could use paper tubes to plant things vertically. If you guys have ever heard of Shiva Raman, he's an architect who does humanitarian architecture using recycled products. So this is an emergency shelter that he designed for the UN using cardboard tubes. That's his thing. And so I saw this image, which I thought would be good for this project. You could plant vertically for not very much money.
Yeah, cardboard's terrible thing to use for vertical planting, yeah. What
So you could
happens?
use PVC.
You would use PVC pipe. You would not use PVC pipe because the problem with polyvinyl chloride, which is problematic for the entire industry, is why use it instead? Well, could use high or any yeah, it's or any soil pot. Build that. You don't need a stick. You don't need anything about the cellulosic lightweight structural capacity of cardboard. You just need something to contain the soil that you're going to put in there anyway, which would collapse the cardboard. Chico Urban is someone to reference and critique, right? Because he builds, basically conventional architecture using material, right? The church and church, right?
You could use tires, recycled tires.
He could, and it's interesting and hard to make it look habitable or interesting. So
It is a children's playground, so I think it'd be okay for
outside the box is not a term that we use, right? It's a design challenge. Tires are absolutely and entirely an icon of ugliness, and good. But that's the thing. So the idea is why? What really would they give you? And they also have the biggest source of malaria, dengue fever, and now Zika fever. It's in all tires. So the challenging material to think through, I would argue there's much better ways to use tires. And in this area, what we didn't talk about before, this is where it matters, right? What do you use for a school like this? I mean, you can draw up all sorts of pretty things, but they're not going to happen unless you figure out what it is. Tires mixed with chicken feathers, which I mentioned there's 3 chickens for every person in the world. That's a lot of chicken feathers. And there's probably more tires for every person in the world. It's a huge issue about what to do with them. But they form together, they form a porous surface that can be bound, but also facilitate the circulation of water. If you also mix into that oyster or shells and have the students involved in creating material, you're doing something that's 4,000 times more interesting than sugar band, whose work is trite over commission and material is stupid, right? With a one-liner, a career that has gone nowhere, and it's, I think, a testament to the UN's lack of commitment to building a real community. They would commission over and over again Urban's work, and then it gets used as a kind of joke now, right? To have, why would you spend all that money and resources?
I think the whole point of the structures is that it doesn't take very much money or resources to use materials that are nearby. Recycle. So I think it's a little bit worthwhile.
Shakur Ban did his first thing 25 years ago, right? It had, I mean, if there's a critique that's required, right? You can't just say, oh, it's nice. It's not nice, it's stupid, right? It has been celebrated, and it failed and failed and failed. And it failed as a way to organize a refugee community. It isn't nearby, it isn't expensive. That, what would be better, what would be the better way to use, how could you do it better? So I don't want to get off on Shakur Ban, but if you're going to bring somebody up, you have to say, this is what I like about his work. And if it is cardboard tubes, really, do you want to commit to collecting the cardboard tubes of the haberdashery stores in New York City, and how many do they produce, and and how long would that last, and wouldn't there be a better use of them, not have diesel trucks just to get them around, etc., etc. So to flesh it out a little bit more would be extremely important if you bring.
Another idea that I have would be to revamp the pond. Yeah. I think it would be interesting for a science course in electrical school would be to put bioluminescence in there. One of the caveats of this project is that the Parks Department does not want the liability of a pond on the school. You need to contact the Parks Department for any project like the pond, but otherwise for the planting of beds, anyone can pretty much come in and use this garden. The girls that I told you about were volunteers.
So why, and what's the process for contacting the Parks Department? And this question about whether or not, what would you propose to
Contact
that?
the Parks Department, you would call or email.
Have you tried doing that? They don't get back to you, you could, et cetera, et cetera. So, but the point is what, they're gonna approve it, right? And if a school wants to have a, a curriculum and a teacher that wants to develop a course in bioluminescence, who's the Parks Department to say you can't do it? Right? Why would you, civil disobedience that depends on,
If they did say it was a liability, 4 inches is little enough water to not drown in, right?
Yeah, I think it's below 6.
Below 6 inches, you can't drown in the water. So
you can drown in 2 inches of water. So the liability issue is but there's a liability issue in any tripping hazard is a liability issue, right? So it's really, really important that you say, screw you and your liability issues. This is an educational facility that is full, full of, here are the benefits that you get from it, right? And we're not going to just not even consider it because the Parks Department has some bureaucratic process that says there's some rule that you can do it. If bioluminescence is a thing that you really care about, the idea has to be fleshed out and rationale and argument. And certainly, I would argue there's a war with the Parks Department. The Parks Department is telling us what and how we can use public space, and they're not working in our interests. They're not improving our health. They're not, some low-paid service workers who want their benefits and the janitors. And they're designing it for them to make it easier to maintain, not to make it as a rich cultural, educational, wondrous, healthy, affirming community space, right? So they're doing something very different. And I think really what you're proposing is to, I suppose, sovereign independence from the Parks Department, right? To claim a flag. Go away, Parks Department.
Time lapse.
Is that a butterfly? We went through the.
It was a bird.
Oh, the butterfly.
The music is going to get very intense.
What is that? Vicky?
Sarah? You can see a lot of community interaction.
Is this from a corner?
It's from 11th Street.
Through the fence or at the fence?
This is the corner. These are the mosque. That's me.
And what's this presentation over here with this poster?
This one?
That
That was
you're
the vertical
referencing?
planting that I was talking to you about.
Sorry?
Of the vertical
No, the
planting.
poster that you were pointing to before.
This one?
Yeah.
So something I found about the building process, and the design process of it. It gives a timeline of it. This is what it was like before. So what it looks like now.
Okay, so most of it is actually sealed over as a sports field. I think that's the other thing that we're ignoring.
But I think that's good for the children.
Yeah, I would argue that. They need more paved space to run on, and if they need open space, what's a better way to do it than to have commercial rubberized plastic, and then the material you were talking about. Is it that we have to have yet another basketball court? Where are the basketball courts in the area? Couldn't there be another imaginative space that is, the problem with green spaces, sports, Randall Island, anybody ever been over to Randall Island? You want to go there because the contamination in and around water from the sports fields, the 43 sports fields, contaminates the entire wetland area, right? So it's the worst. Why do we design these sports that degrade the environmental health? Why do we use astroturf or synthetic turf? You know, the environmental argument. It's better for the watershed and, in fact, environmental health. Use of plastic. Does anybody like playing soccer on astroturf? Does anybody go and hang out and lie on astroturf? A lot of people do on the west side, which is always, I find interesting. But I think it's interesting not because it's astroturf, but because it's an open space, which I think is what you're suggesting. When you said, I think it's good for the kids, you don't mean that you think the only way that the kids should use it is lining up on teams and doing a formal sport team. You mean, I'm guessing, that it's an open space that can run around and do what they like. Right? And in addition, do that. But could we do that in a way that's much more like what you said? You know, maybe a map of the two growing areas of the world with texture, where they have to move up and down the highlands of the great. You know, is there a way to take some of that space back as well? We don't have to give it to it. Any other questions? What was interesting about the time lapse? People,
Yeah.
activity,
Yeah, the mixture of people and
and animals. It was used as much by the animals as it was by people. It's the first green space of all of them that had limited that. It's actually, yeah, it's kind of non-human perspective. Because when you're not taking a photograph, you see a little bit more about it. But it's not, New York City is not just the people. It's a lot of things about yours. But also about this community space that you are curious about. What? Yes, and your colleague.
I'm curious about what the things are going to look like, or whatever people do, when you're talking about what I'm saying.
yeah, I feel that. So when I went by that garden and like I wanted to get inside, but then I had to like stop because I saw a woman like go inside. She had to unlock it and go inside. And I stood there and I was like, am I allowed to go outside or not? So I looked at the times, I had to like look it up. And another woman was about to come in as well, but then she saw me looking it up, so then she also looked it up to make sure she could go outside. And then we're like, all right, please go outside.
Yeah,
So it's like
that's a powerful question. How necessary are fences? In the community space? Could you convince the school to hire? Okay. I put a time lapse on, and let's try for a week. See what happens.
Yeah, I think my question is what happens to the farm fences? If you're going to retain things like John.
yeah, I think yeah, if you're determined to get in, but I don't know who would do that. Like, race to like a little green.
The park west goes down to really well because of the elementary students, they're doing the new activities. But if that's what they're afraid of, that one's good.
Yeah, is that a bad thing? If they're not going to hang out there, but they're only going to hang out. This whole idea of policing, I think what Gustave was saying. I police it. And the kids are there, they're there. Maybe there's you put up some ribbons when you have the small children there out.
Yeah, I
when
mean,
they're there,
the main
or-
thing I kind of get is that they don't feel like, because you can easily step on plot area where like you're not, where like things are growing. So like, I get that. So like, they could probably just segregate like little ties and strings and stuff, but they wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful ribbons of different colours that you put in and out, athletic seasonally. I would, because it goes, the block goes from one street to the other, I would take a shortcut through there. And maybe everybody should take a shortcut through there. Is that a bad thing? And how do you design so that that shortcut is actually a lovely long cut where you go past the pond and over a little hill and down through the so it actually does promote that. And build a path. Maybe you put obstacles in the path that you want to jump over.
The violations would be nice.
There's little puddles along it that you have to step over, the opposite of stepping stones, yes, the stepping puddles.
I think some of these things would be nice too, like putting, okay, I don't know if you're going to like that these organisms are on the line, but putting them in resin, I think would be a nice greenhouse wall, or just a nice display while you're walking.
That is interesting. Yeah, maybe you could have the children collect the butterflies after they're going.
That'd be a cool
They've
program.
lived their whole life. And okay, let's move on to one of you two.
But also you could do something called a bioswale in the area between where the courts are and the playground.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I developed bioswales. I don't call them bioswales, right? It's a really extraordinarily important thing in this class. There's no reason to call a bioswale a bioswale. It is the way that the Department of Transportation has used them as infrastructure. We're not going to call them spaces. Water penetration slabs, right? We're going to call it a park. We're going to call it a children's. So a bioswale is something that I would really insist that you understand the concepts, which is part of the functioning and value of having green spaces, but in no way use their language. Right? And you've seen them, no parks or other things that have some presence. They call it one. It's called a butterfly truck stop. Okay. You could make it the wetland tea garden, right? Or something that is imaginative and inviting. Is the refusal of instrumentalized language is extremely important. To underscore your own delight. Right? It's interesting that the bioswale works that way. You could maybe display it on the side of the greenhouse. But
I think the cool part would also be to display how these things work, so that
yeah, that's part of the wonder. But that's then about making a natural systems adventure park, right? As opposed to, the parks department. Oh, but you can't have a tripping hazard on a sidewalk, on a footpath. Well, yeah, let's have puddles. People jump over. That whole refusing them language and maintenance and that these green spaces are some sort of burden that they have to bear. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. You're going. Yeah.
Actually, I have introduced a lot of perspectives I want to present already, so I will put some edit on that. I can show you some pictures. This is a map of Beijing, and this purple part is the district I live in, called West City District.
Can you do
And
this?
Yes.
different from New York, Beijing is like a centralized city. It's making rings, so it's getting bigger and bigger. Right now, there's 7 rings. It will get to be 8 rings to make the city even bigger. It almost reaches the other provinces already.
Yeah, so how big is that from the middle of the inner circle, which is, you said this is your area?
Here.
Oh, that's,
So, for example, the airport Beijing is between the 6th ring and the 7th ring, about here. And the traveling time by driving from here to there is about 1.5 hours, even without traffic. But most of the time, there are very heavy traffic, so it takes more than 2 hours. I have talked about the energy system, the public transportation, and this is the subway map of Beijing. It has 14 to 16 lines, which the number is similar to New York and Tokyo, Beijing international city.
You have
but
subway
the
in
population
Beijing?
is more.
A subway?
Is more.
It's-
The
yeah.
population of Beijing compared to New York City or Tokyo?
Yes, I think New York City's population is about 10 million.
More.
6, 8, yeah.
It's like 7.
Greater New York?
Just 7?
7.3.
Manhattan or New York?
But Beijing has 20 million, so I think it has the most
More than
population.
double, yeah.
And I also mentioned the health costs, and it's obvious that the lung cancer disease has risen 465% in the last 3 decades because of the air pollution has become more serious.
That's interesting. So your thesis is that Beijing's a big research lab, really, to say, what happens if we build, how many coal-fired power plants are there around Beijing?
Around Beijing, I'm not sure, but I know that each year there are, each week there's a new coal plant in China.
And you know where most of that coal comes from? I've got 2 brothers that are coal miners in Australia.
The biggest coal province
US?
is called Shanxi province.
Which is where coal comes from internally, or is?
It's not eternally, but for the last several decades. It is said that the underground of that province is empty right now, and it can sink anytime.
Mm. Wow. The big pending collapse. Yeah, that's what people are scared about it.
Yeah, I think around 70% of the energy consumed by Beijing is by burning coal. And I remember there's a journalist in the university saying, "Can you put me into a lab and let me and adjust the air pollution level so that I can know to which level what my body will react. And the professor in the university says for any experiments like this, there's a safety rule to which point your body will not be safe anymore. You could die. And the professor said right now the air condition outside is already has that level, so there's no experiment can be done with that.
Right. The lab is outside. The entire, we're exposing the population at a level that has had this 465% rise of in 10 years. Amazing. And that's, I wonder how quickly, it'd be really interesting to map, right?
And I also mentioned the waste system where there are so many waste generated every day, and it's almost reaching maximum capacity of the waste processing facilities. And this is a picture taken in Beijing where the trash are just gathered near the residential buildings, and people's health are also exposed to the risk. And all
What's the date of that picture? Do you know? Recent?
most of my project life from 2008 to 2014.
This is a recent thing, yeah.
And all the yellow dots you see are the spots where they gather the trash. So you can see the city is surrounded by all the trash.
Wow, and they do take it all out. Wow, that's an extraordinary. Who did that image? Do you know? Is it a research image or a journalist image or?
I can provide the source to
Yeah. It's a great graphic representation. Except those little push pins are annoying. So just like a nice dot, the size of the waste processing facility. Right, that would be a better graphic, don't you think?
the goods distribution also covers that already. And the population and work production. In 2015, the GDP was over $250 billion in the nation, and that should be for the city, and the city's population was about 10 million, so the GDP per capita was over $17,000.
Wow.
And possible solutions. So the basic idea is to try to reuse and recycle waste to lower the energy consumption. And the incineration of the waste produces electricity. The US incinerates about 100,000 tons of waste every day, which is 2 times more than China. And the other example I have mentioned last week is to encourage citizens to participate. The example is in the Xicheng district in Beijing, where the government distributed daily living goods for citizens who recycle the trash to the recycle center. And this is a remote recycle trash truck, and you can see there's a weight scale there, where people can just bring the recycled trash and weigh it and get goods back.
Great. Yeah, when they did the actual cycling, processing, incineration of the waste in the truck. I just did the calculation last night. You know, these bags, these addition of bags that are for garbage cycling. But I didn't bring her in, did I? Elaine Young is the designer, student of mine, who's designing these bags in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, they're building on Lantau Island, the only green island, one of the major green islands of Hong Kong. They're building a huge incinerator. So what's the problem with incinerators?
I read there are two problems. The first one is you need very high temperature, about 850 degrees Celsius. And the second one is when you burn the trash, it produces some very high like poisonous air, and you need a whole process to stop that from just polluting the air.
Right. Anything else? So there's no actual good way to do incineration in these large facilities, although they do generate energy in the same way that burning coal generates energy, running turbines. But what's the problem with these centralized incinerators? Aside from who wants to live next door to one? Why don't you want to live next door to one? Emissions and
no biodiversity.
Smell and
No biodiversity also.
no biodiversity. It's not.
Noise.
The noise, exactly. The noise of the trucks coming and going, and the pollution from the trucks. The Marine Transport Station in reason why the Harlem Action Fund was started is because the trucks coming to and fro all day long, parking there, horrible, noisy, smelly, polluting trucks. So in addition to the pollution of the incinerator itself, there's the trucks that are going from in that map all the way out all the time. So just by, if we don't have a centralized facility on Lantau Island, so in Lantau Island and Hong Kong, the calculation I did last night was to generate as much energy as this huge mega, let me tell you that, mega incinerator they're building to solve Hong Kong's waste problems, which means not only building a bridge over to Lantau Island, but barges that will go every day to take the trash over there. Huge centralized municipal scale. We're going to solve the trash problem, right? Do you know how many bags it would take to generate more energy than the entire huge facility with these hundreds of trucks and barges going to it every day? 244 bags, like that. If we didn't use the trucks, picked up our paper, put it in there, and pyrolyzed it, didn't create emissions, and did it, you know, downstairs.
Who's pyrolyzing?
Pyrolysis is the biochar production facility, which is combustion, but it's at a high temperature and it's sealed, right?
You harvest heat waste as well.
Exactly. Yeah, so you harvest heat, and that's actually what burning coal does, right? You drive water into a turbine, and that's harvesting the heat is the expansion process that drives the turbine, right? So pyrolysis is the same, but it produces the gases are caught, right? And syngas, kind of a methane-like gas, becomes material. There are all these contaminants in it, right? But it doesn't produce CO2 because it's done in a sealed container, right? And you're capturing the gas. So what would you rather with your contaminants, cadmium, all these 50,000 synthetic chemicals that have been made by industry. Would you rather they be put in a landfill to sit there for a couple of hundred years? Or would you rather them be pyrolyzed in a high temperature? What's going to break them down quicker? You put that much energy into it, you're going to break it down. We don't quite know what's going to happen to all of these, right? But I'd rather put it in, you know, if I'm choosing between the lesser of two evils, I'd rather do it here in controlled conditions where I can capture the material. So what are the big benefits we could get in redesigning Beijing? Before we even redesign the incinerators, which I'll bomb the incinerators, before we even do that, what are we seeing here? Why not actually use that? I mean, that's a waste processing center. Why take it somewhere else?
Is that instead of the truck? Do they still use trucks to bring the trash?
They do. I mean, that's what the point is. Why not take that scale? What I'm pointing to is this is a scale the community can interact at, right? You set up a kitchen is closed there, then your trash went straight into the pyrolysis device. The kids could put it in. They could figure out, well, what's pyrolysis? But where does the gas go? What's the temperature of it? Right? You'd learn, right? Is it a good thing that none of us know anything about how our waste is distributed or processed, or do we have to, you know, do we have to pretend it's untouchable and unknowable and happens in warehouses somewhere out in the perimeter that we, you know, let's make it into a spectacle. Let's make it into something that we cook rice on. We have, as a community, every Saturday morning, can you take the garbage down? Yeah, I'm going down to see my friends and I'll do it, right? And that scale of production, if that can be set up somewhere on corners, then waste distribution could look like that instead of these huge, big Lantau incinerators being built for millions of dollars. Concrete being poured into pristine Green Island. Let's refuse the kind of insane 1920s massive engineering projects that were basically to give a whole lot of guys some jobs. That's why they were designed like that. Big centralized systems as job creation, not because it's the best thing for human health. So redesigning that to this scale, I think it's a great picture, because that you could figure that out, right? That's not like going up to a big warehouse and what do you do with a glass? What happens? Can I come in? Right, this scale of intervention, you could set up your you know, I don't know, your beer. I'm selling beer here, right? Your it fosters community development because it's a legible, small-scale, community-run facility. So I'd like to see, if we just did that, if we just stopped distributing the waste, you know, what we would do with air quality, first to remove whatever, 15,000 trucks distributing waste, or just in the area, say, 45 trucks delivering waste.
The statistics shows that the biggest proportion of the air pollution source in Beijing city is from the vehicles, which is more than
Interesting.
30%.
So they do think it's more vehicles than the coal-fired power plants.
Within the Beijing city.
Oh, I see.
But in terms of from the other part, it's definitely coal power. It contributes to 70%.
Okay, take it away, and then we're done. Thank you for that. Wasn't that,
English.
okay. Oi, oi, oi.
So my part was about data and how to solve the transportation issue that they're having. So it all started in 1948 because we had a tramway system, and in 1948 one of the presidential candidates, the most liberal one, was assassinated. And suddenly all the radio stations called the citizens to
Who was
go
assassinated?
for him is right then. He's one of the most real presidential candidate, one of the most liberals at the time. And rumors had it that the conservatives tried to kill him, and they did kill him. So all the radio stations called the supporters of Gaitan to go on the streets and riot, basically. So all the transportation system was completely ruined after that, and
By the riots.
so the government wanted to reinvent it, and they saw how all the major European countries were implementing a bus system. So instead of doing what they did, that was conserving the tram and the bus system and have like a small change, the government decided to go full on buses. So they took out the tramways completely and put the bus system into place. And we had a bus system, and the problem with that bus system was that it was all bureaucracy. So let's say that the government said, okay, there's a route from point A to point B, and that's your route. And you can sell that route to the bus drivers, so the owners of the bus. So I have like, let's say this street is mine, but I can sell the permit for buses to go on this street to as many buses as I like. And I want money, so I just sell and sell and sell.
You mean the municipality or
The
the?
municipality gave it to private investors or businesses.
Mhm.
So they were the ones that sold and sold, and suddenly this huge boom of buses started, and the buses that run that were like inefficient because there were a lot of them, more traffic and less people per bus. So this new system is like a more. So what they wanted to do is make like a subway, but use buses instead of trains. So we have this bus system called Transmilenio, and we also have like the public bus system. So as you can see, there's a lot of.
Sorry, it's private, public
This is
trains.
private, yeah.
Private trains, public buses.
They wanted to do like a subway system, but instead of using trains, they wanted to use buses. So we have this private bus system, and then we have a public bus system. Two different buses.
And no trains.
No trains. We want to build that. So.
And no streetcars, no.
No trains.
Every city has, your city, Houston, did it have a particular trams?
No, Texas is atrocious in public transportation.
Has always been?
Because,
Did you just check that? Because,
In Rome, they have trams.
where?
Rome?
well,
Yeah.
Houston has a single one line that runs like straight through the city and very short, and it's like pretty much useless. And it's atrocious, but like every time they're about. Because they want the dependence on oil, and
Right.
because it's a big traffic city, so like they want that.
So it's interesting, in Australia, you know, every city around this time said, oh, you know, these trams are old fashioned. Like, LA, San Francisco, they all got rid of them. Melbourne didn't. They had Union, Sydney did, and Brisbane did. You know what's the most livable city in the world, 7 years in a row? Melbourne. Over and over again. But one of the issues, so much so that Brisbane's talking about bringing it back in. What's San Francisco doing? They kept theirs, they just kept a little bit of it, but now they're extending it over and over and over, right? Because it turns out these are far better than buses, right? And far better than trains because they're, my argument for zip lines, how much does it take to put up either an electric cable versus building a train line or a tunnel or a subway stop, right? It's lightweight, adaptive infrastructure.
And the idea behind this is that it's faster if you go from one station to another one, right? No stops in between. So what they decided to do is do a lot of different routes that went just from one station to another one. So there's very little like places to transport, and there's just so many buses, and most of them go like just like one
Because
route.
this was privately designed. This was
Yeah.
about private contract,
Yeah.
basically. Maximize the amount of